Just like you might prepare for a special meal at home with certain dishes and objects that you put on your table, we prepare with sacred vessels for each Mass at church. And today I'm in the sacristy of the large church at Our Lady of the Snow, where Marlene from our parish is going to walk us through how we set the table for Mass.
As we begin to set the table, please note that the wine we use and the host that we use are unconsecrated. So this is, for now, just bread, and this is just wine. We are not using the body and the blood of Christ while we're demonstrating how to set the table of the Lord. Hello everyone. I'm here to show you how we're going to set the table for the Lord's Supper, which we will be having during Mass. The first thing, similar to our tables at home, is you want to provide food for the guests. We start with the wine. This is wine that has not been consecrated. That's something only the priest can do. And we put some into the pitcher. This will go on what's called the credence table. The credence table is set near the altar in the sanctuary, and that's where the priest will get the items that they need. We have the host. Again, this is unconsecrated, which means the priest has not blessed it yet. It comes in a bag, and this is what is put out prior to the start of Mass. You'll notice that we also have the priest host, which is much larger in size. And that goes on to ciborium for him. You can see the size difference between the priest bread and what you receive. Now, perhaps you have a guest who's coming and they have a gluten-free food that they need to consume. We also have for them the gluten-free host. So if you have an allergy to gluten and you require a gluten-free host, just let the priest or what's the sacristan, that's the person who sets up for the Mass, know, and they can put your gluten-free host into this. It's called a pyx, and that will go to up on the credence table where the priest will be able to consecrate that for you. So that's one thing that you always want to make sure your guests are comfortable and can have and receive the body of Christ. Why don't you come with me to the table and I'll show you how to set it up. All right, so here we are at the credence table, and it is set for Mass to begin. One thing you may notice when you look at the altar is that the altar cloths change. Right now, we're in the color green. Does anybody know what that might signify? You can look behind on the wall and see the banners as well. They too are green. And that signifies that we are in ordinary time. Our next season, in our liturgical year, the color will change to purple, and that will start Lent. What will happen during Mass is the priest will stand here. The Roman Missal is here. This is where the prayers are for the Mass. This cloth that's on the altar, this is called a corporal, and it will catch if any particles should fall. It also is a covering that is put down prior to where the consecration of the host and the wine will take place. We have another corporal up here. This is just for the pandemic, because when the priest is saying Mass, as you may have noticed, he is not wearing his mask. So we put the unconsecrated host, which is located in what's called a ciborium. The ciborium holds the host that will be turned into the body of Christ. The priest will put the ciborium with the host on the corporal in the corner. The priest's intent is to consecrate or make this bread turn into the body of Christ. It will become that. It's with the priest's intention that that happens. You'll notice the priest will also put another ciborium here, which will hold his host. The chalice will come up. This is called the pall. It's placed on top of the chalice. And there is also the purificator. And this is what you'll notice either Father Kevin, Father Joseph will use during their reception and consuming of the blood of Christ, to make sure none of the blood or the body hits the floor. You will also notice that they'll take the pitcher of wine and put it into the chalice. During the pandemic, we're not offering parishioners wine or the blood of Christ. The blood of Christ will only be consumed by the priest during a Mass. Once the priest has put the wine into their chalice, you'll notice they put a little drop of water in. That's humanity. That's what that stands for. It's symbolic of us in the whole universe and how small we are in comparison to that. You'll also watch them wash their hands. They say a prayer. Once they've done that, then they will come over and start the consecration of the host, which will be turned into the body of Christ, and the wine, which will be turned into the blood of Christ. So now the priest has consecrated the host. He has given it to the Eucharistic ministers, who are the ladies and gentlemen you receive your communion from during the Sunday Mass. Once everybody has received communion, the ciboriums, with now the consecrated host, come back to the priest. The priest will combine them, and then he'll walk with the consecrated host in the ciborium. You'll see him walk to the tabernacle. The host will be placed into the tabernacle, and this is where the body of Christ will be. The candle is lit next to the tabernacle. That signifies to us that Christ is present. The priest then will genuflect and close the tabernacle. What you notice here is another purificator that's in case any of the body of Christ falls. This here is called an ablution cup. An ablution cup is used for a consecrated host that perhaps accidentally fell to the ground. In that case, it is picked up very quickly, and it'll be placed into this water. Once the body of Christ is in this water becomes holy. It therefore then has to be disposed in the proper way. There is a sink in the large church sacristy, which is the room where the priests get dressed and where all the supplies are kept for the masses. That sink has a special drain. It only goes into the ground directly. And that is where the host and this water will be disposed of immediately following the Mass. What you may also notice is that at Mass, 2 different books are used. I bet you think one of them is the Bible, but that is not actually the case. The book that the priest follows Mass with is called the Roman Missal. This book contains all of the introductory rites, the blessings, and all of the parts of Mass. What you will also notice is at the lectern is the book called the Lectionary. The Lectionary is a book that the readers or the lectors will read from, and it is also the book that the priest will read from when they read the gospel. So the lectors will proclaim the word from the Old Testament. The second reading will be from the New Testament. And then the third reading by the priest or the deacon is the gospel.